alien scout touched Earth's sand, then the ground tried to swallow him whole. Quist had crossed the surfaces of 29 inhabited worlds, 6 moons, and 1 asteroid that had technically qualified as a sovereign nation. None of them had ever objected when he touched the ground. Earth did. His survey craft rested in a shallow basin between pale coastal dunes, its 3 landing legs sunk less than 2 centimeters into what every instrument aboard identified as ordinary dry sand. The morning sky was painfully blue. Far beyond the dunes, an ocean flashed beneath the sun, visible only when the wind flattened the tops of the grass. Quist stood at the bottom of his ramp and studied the terrain one final time. Atmospheric pressure, normal. Radiation, harmless. Temperature, 26 degrees by the local scale. Biological threat within immediate radius, negligible. Surface composition, mostly quartz grains with traces of shell, feldspar, and organic matter. Load estimate, acceptable. Nothing unusual. That bothered him slightly. Interesting planets usually announce themselves through chemistry, storms, radiation, or predators large enough to justify a warning symbol. Earth's danger reports had been frustratingly inconsistent. Humans had warned the survey service about oceans, heat, cold, mountains, storms, forests, deserts, insects, venomous animals, poisonous plants, moving ice, unstable rock, flash floods, and something cold weather changing its mind. The official human briefing had ended with a sentence Quist had assumed was cultural humor. When you don't know the ground, ask someone who does. Quist had survived 3 collapsing volcanic shelves without asking permission from a local. He could handle sand. He extended the sampling probe from his right wrist. The tool was simple by survey standards: a narrow hardened shaft, thermal reader, chemical collector, and compression sensor. It would take less than 10 seconds to confirm the surface data. Quist stepped away from the ramp. The sand gave softly beneath his boots. Normal. He crossed 4 meters. Still normal. Then he knelt. His left hand pressed into the warm sand to steady himself, while his right lowered the probe. The grains were finer than he expected. They slid between the flexible joints of his glove and whispered over the outer plating. Quist pushed the probe down. 5 centimeters. 10. 14. The instrument registered less resistance than the scan had predicted. Quist frowned. A thin line appeared around his left hand. He looked at it. The line curved away through the sand. Not a crack exactly. Sand did not crack. Yet this did. The circular fracture widened. Quist froze. A grain slid into it. Then another. Then hundreds. The ground beneath his left hand sank half a centimeter. Interesting, Quist murmured. The circle collapsed. His arm plunged to the elbow. Quist jerked backward. The sand under his right boot vanished. His leg dropped to the knee. He tried to stand. The surface folded. There was no explosion, no violent impact, no warning beyond a soft rushing hiss. The earth simply opened. Quist dropped to his waist. Emergency support. His suit responded instantly. Powered fibers tightened along his legs. Servo assistance doubled. Quist planted his remaining boot and pushed. The result was immediate. The sand beneath that boot collapsed too. He dropped another 30 centimeters. Now both legs were buried. Sand poured around his thighs with frightening speed. Quist stopped breathing for a moment. His suit displayed the depth beneath him. The rating made no sense. Solid surface, 1 meter. Then empty space. Then irregular material, almost 4 meters lower. A cavity. He was standing on the roof of a cavity. Or he had been. Reverse movement, Quist ordered. His suit increased power. He leaned toward the spacecraft. The sand behind him tore open. His body dropped to the bottom of his chest. The pressure around his legs increased sharply. Warning symbols appeared across his visor. Lower limb movement restricted. Servo load rising. External granular pressure increasing. Quist grabbed at the surface. Both hands sank to the wrists. The more he moved, the faster the ground disappeared. Stop assistance. The suit hesitated. Confirm. Stop lower body assistance. Power dropped. Quist became still. The sand continued sliding for 3 long seconds. Then slowed. He stared at his craft. The ramp was less than 5 meters away. It might as well have been orbit. Quist opened an emergency channel. This is Survey Scout Quist at designated coastal site Kappa. Ground failure. I require immediate. Don't move. The voice came through his external receiver, not the survey network. Human. Female. Close. Quist turned his head. Identify yourself. June Harrow, Coastal Terrain Service. I'm about 200 meters north of you. Quist looked toward the dune ridge. At first, he saw nothing. Then a human figure appeared at the crest. She wore faded field clothing, a light protective helmet, and a pack strapped tightly against her back. She raised one arm. Quist almost laughed from relief. Excellent, approach quickly. No. Quist blinked. No. Don't move. You already said that. And you're already doing it again. Quist realized his left hand had shifted toward the spacecraft. He stopped. June descended the ridge, but not toward him. She moved sideways. Slowly. Every few steps she crouched, touched the ground, then changed direction. Quist watched in disbelief. You are taking an inefficient path. Yes, I am sinking. I can see that. Then efficiency would seem important. So would not joining you. She stopped nearly 30 meters away. Quist's confidence fell. 30 meters is not a useful rescue distance. Depends what happens in those 30 meters. She pulled a narrow rod from her pack and pressed it into the sand. Then again. Then several meters to her right. Quist zoomed his visor. The human was testing the ground manually. With a stick. He had orbital mapping capable of distinguishing buried metallic fragments smaller than her hand, and the human had brought a stick. Scout, June said, did you land directly where you are now? Obviously. How much downward thrust did your ship use? Within standard landing parameters. That isn't a number. Quist gave her the figure. June went silent. Is that significant? Maybe. Maybe is not comforting. It shouldn't be. June removed 2 folded objects from her pack and snapped them open. They became wide mesh panels. She laid one in front of herself, stepped onto it, placed the second ahead, moved the first forward again. Quist understood. Weight distribution. You are concerned the surface will fail beneath you. I know it will fail somewhere. I'm trying to make sure I don't learn where by disappearing. Quist looked down. The sand around his chest shifted. He stiffened. June, I see it. You cannot possibly see movement this small from there. I don't need to see you. Look 2 meters to your right. Quist turned. A tiny cone had formed in the sand. At its center, grains were slipping downward. Not blowing. Draining. The cone widened. Quist's pulse accelerated. What is that? Bad. You humans use remarkably imprecise, technical language. When we're trying to keep someone alive, we shorten things. The small cone suddenly collapsed. A dark hole appeared. The surrounding sand rushed into it. Quist stared. The opening widened until it was nearly a meter across. Below it was blackness. His scanner confirmed empty space. The cavity extended under him. And toward his ship. June's voice became sharper. Quist, listen carefully. You're not in ordinary quicksand. I am familiar with the concept. Good, forget it. That was not encouraging. The surface you're on is a crust. Something washed or drained out underneath it. Could be an old channel, could be a washout pocket, could be bigger than I'm seeing. My scanner indicates interconnected voids. How far? Quist studied the map. He wished he had not. At least 70 meters. June swore softly. Quist assumed translation failure. Repeat. No. She continued toward him. The panels spread her weight. She stopped again at 12 meters. Can your suit lock its joints? Yes. Can you flatten yourself without pushing down? Quist considered the question. With difficulty. Do it. My legs are trapped. Then we're starting with your upper body. June removed a coiled line from her pack and clipped one end to a flat anchor plate. She did not drive the anchor into the ground. Instead, she unfolded it until it became a broad rectangle and placed it across the surface. Again, distribution, not penetration. She threw the line. It landed short. Quist reached. Don't. His hand froze. The movement required is minimal. Minimal is still movement. She gathered the line and threw again. This time it struck his shoulder. Quist caught it without leaning. Attach it to the upper harness. He obeyed. Now what? Now I don't pull you out. Quist stared at her. Your rescue method is becoming increasingly theoretical. If I pull straight, all your weight concentrates under you. You'll punch through whatever's left. What alternative do you suggest? We make you wider. I beg your pardon. June removed another folded mesh panel. She pushed it across the sand toward him using the rod. Get your chest onto that. Quist looked at the panel, then at the sand packed around him. That requires movement. Yes, you just spent several minutes demanding I remain still. Now I'm demanding you move correctly. Quist considered the possibility that human survival depended mostly on saying contradictory things with enough confidence. On 3, June said, you're going forward, not up. Use your arms, keep the suit assist off. Quist positioned his hands. 1. He felt the sand tighten around his hips. 2. The dark hole to his right grew wider. 3. Quist pulled. His chest slid forward. Sand resisted around his legs. His instinct screamed at him to stand. He did not. June tightened the line just enough to help him move horizontally. His hips rose slowly. One leg came free. Then the other. Quist sprawled across the mesh panel. The instant his second boot cleared the hole, the sand where he had been trapped collapsed. The entire patch dropped away. Quist watched from less than a meter away as the earth swallowed the place where his body had been. Sand poured into darkness like water down a drain. His sample probe vanished with it. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. June finally said, still want the efficient route. Quist rested his helmet against the mesh. No. June did not laugh at him. That surprised Quist more than the collapse. Once they reached firmer ground beside the dune ridge, she made him sit while she inspected his suit. Sand had packed into several joints, but the outer material remained intact. Quist removed one glove and emptied a stream of pale grains from its wrist seal. He watched them fall with considerably more suspicion than before. June crouched several meters away, studying the basin. She had small flags now. Every few steps, she inserted one only a few centimeters into the surface. Quist noticed she never crossed certain faint lines in the sand. What are you observing? Cracks. My optical system barely resolves them. You're looking for cracks, I'm looking for changes. Quist waited. June pointed. See that darker strip? Yes. Fresh sand slid within the last few minutes. Another area. See the little ridge beside it? Yes. Compression. Another. Those tiny vents. Quist increased magnification. 3 holes, each no wider than a finger. Air coming up, June said, means material underneath is moving or water is pushing into the void. Quist frowned. My scanner can map the void directly. Good. June stood. Then use it. Quist projected the subsurface map into the air between them. Blue light traced the dune basin. What had appeared from above as a shallow bowl of ordinary sand contained a branching network of cavities beneath the surface. June stared. That's worse than I thought. Your earlier language suggested you already considered the situation bad. I was trying to stay optimistic. You should stop doing that. She smiled for the first time. Quist rotated the map. The largest cavity ran beneath the eastern landing leg of his spacecraft. His relief disappeared. We must move the ship. June's smile vanished. No, it weighs significantly more than I do. Exactly. I can launch vertically. With how much thrust? Quist gave the figure. June looked at him. No, you have developed a concerning attachment to that word, and you're still alive because of it. Quist rose. My craft contains survey archives, scientific equipment, personal supplies, and a propulsion core worth more than your entire field station. Then it's expensive. That is your response. What would you like me to say? That we will recover it. June looked toward the craft. I don't know if we will. Quist stared at her. Humans had many disturbing habits, but he had not expected casual acceptance of losing advanced technology. We need additional equipment. I already called it in. Heavy lifting machinery. No. Ground stabilizers. No. Then what? People who know this coast better than I do. Quist turned slowly toward her. You called other humans. Yes. Instead of machines. I called both. That is slightly better. June walked back toward the basin. Quist followed until she raised one hand. He stopped immediately. She looked over her shoulder. Fast learner. I prefer motivated. Fair. June crouched near the edge of the collapse and touched 2 fingers to the surface. For the second time that morning, Quist found himself disturbed by how comfortable a human looked touching Earth. What are you feeling? Nothing. Then why? That's the point. She stood. The wind has dropped. Quist jagged. She was right. What relevance does that have? Listen. Quist amplified his external audio. At first, he heard only distant surf. Then something else. A faint, low murmur. Under them. Water. Quist checked the subsurface scan. The eastern edge of the void network had changed. The scanner detected liquid entering one cavity. Then another. Where is it coming from? June looked toward the ocean. Tide. The waterline is hundreds of meters away. Above ground. Quist felt cold despite the warm air. There is a buried channel. Looks like it. How long until the tidal level rises significantly? June checked the local time. Not long enough for me to say we're taking our time. Quist stared at his ship. We move it now. June turned toward him. Quist, if water enters those cavities, the support beneath the landing legs will degrade. Yes. Then delay decreases our chance of saving the craft. Also yes. So we launch. No. Quist's jaw tightened. Explain. June pointed at the sand directly beneath the ship. Your landing already shook that surface once. If you fire the engines, you don't just lift. You push. The propulsion flow is dispersed. Into what? Quist said nothing. June answered for him. Into a roof made of sand. The words sat between them. His ship had not merely landed on unstable ground. It might have helped create it. Quist opened the landing record. He compared the original surface scan with the new cavity model. The cavities had existed before arrival, but several internal roof sections showed recent collapse, directly beneath the areas struck by landing thrust. Quist magnified the data. No. June said nothing. My landing procedure meets interstellar survey safety standards. I believe you. The ground showed adequate load strength. I believe that too. The cavity was not detected by the initial orbital scan. Okay. Quist looked at her. Stop agreeing with me. Would you prefer I argue? Yes. Your scan was wrong. He almost objected. Then stopped. No, he said slowly, the scan was not wrong. June waited. It measured surface density correctly. Yeah. It measured local compression resistance correctly. Yeah. It failed to identify the relationship between the crust and the empty space beneath it. June nodded. That's different. Quist stared at the map. His instruments had told the truth, just not enough of it. The other humans arrived in 2 small tracked vehicles, and one machine Quist initially assumed had been assembled from spare agricultural parts. None of them appeared impressed by his spacecraft. That offended him until he realized they were deliberately staying away from it. June spoke with them for less than a minute. No speeches. No debate. Everyone began working. Thin marker poles established a broad, safe boundary. Ground-penetrating sensors were deployed from the ridge. Long, lightweight mats unrolled across selected routes. Quist watched one human abandon a route after seeing a single line appear in the surface. His scanner showed no immediate failure beneath that spot. 3 minutes later, the line widened and part of the path collapsed. Quist stopped questioning the flags. He worked beside June from the ridge. His scanner provided depth. Her team provided interpretation. Void here, Quist said. How deep? 1.8 meters below surface. Roof thickness. Variable. Skip it. Next route. Void here. 3 meters. Water. None yet. June studied the sand. See those vents? Yes. Skip it. Another. No void beneath this section for 8 meters. June looked. Surface is sloping toward the main collapse. The subsurface structure is intact. Still skip it. Quist looked at her. Why? Because intact ground can slide into broken ground. He considered this, then marked the route unsafe. For the first time since landing, neither of them was correcting the other. They were building one map from 2 kinds of ignorance. Quist saw below. June saw what the surface was beginning to become. The tide continued rising. Water appeared in more cavities. The sand basin changed almost imperceptibly. Small sections sagged. A depression formed near the rear landing leg. Quist's ship adjusted automatically. The suspension compensated. June heard the mechanism move and looked up sharply. What was that? Landing level correction. Turn it off. It maintains stability. Turn it off. Quist opened the remote controls. The ship shifted again. A landing leg extended 3 centimeters. The surface beneath it broke. The leg dropped nearly half a meter. The entire craft tilted. Every human on the ridge became still. A fracture spread outward from the buried foot. Quist disabled automatic correction. The fracture stopped. June exhaled. Good. Quist stared at the craft. My ship is sinking. Yes. He hated how calmly she said it. One of the humans approached June. Tide is ahead of model. How much? About 20 minutes. June looked toward the ocean. The visible water had not changed dramatically, but beneath them, Quist's scanner showed the buried channel filling faster. He understood now why humans watched landscapes instead of just objects. The danger was not located in one place. It was becoming the place. We should evacuate, June said. Quist turned. Without the craft. Yes. No. The word came from him this time. June studied his face. We still have time. Maybe. You used that word earlier. Still don't like it. No. Quist examined the ship. Its forward landing leg remained stable. The western leg had lost 12 centimeters. The eastern leg was now nearly a meter deeper than its original position. If he could remotely retract the damaged leg. No. The shifting load might cause another collapse. If he used low-output maneuvering thrust. No. Downward pressure. If the humans installed support plates. Impossible without walking into the unstable zone. There had to be another solution. Advanced civilizations did not surrender spacecraft to sand. Quist searched engineering contingencies. Emergency vertical lift. Risk unacceptable. Remote ballast dump. Possible. Fuel transfer. Possible. He began calculations. June touched his arm. Quist, I can reduce mass by 17%. And then lift with minimal thrust. Minimal compared to what? Normal launch. How much pressure hits the ground? Quist gave the estimate. June stared at him. He closed the calculation. A heavy sound rolled through the basin. Not an explosion. Something deeper. The sound seemed to come from everywhere beneath them. The central dune surface dropped 10 centimeters. Every human stepped back. Quist's ship leaned farther. One of the landing legs disappeared completely. The hull settled onto the sand. Quist took one step toward it. June caught his harness. He spun. Release me. No. My archives. Remote copy. Already transmitted. Personal belongings. Replaceable. Core. Contained. Then what are you going back for? Quist opened his mouth. Nothing came. June waited. He looked at the ship. His ship. His mobile laboratory. His shelter across 14 sectors. The place where he had slept, worked, eaten, complained, filed reports, repaired equipment, and stored the useless stone his sister had given him before his first solo mission. The craft, he said. June's expression softened slightly. I know. Quist stared at the tilting hull. I should be able to save it. Maybe. He gave her a sharp look. She did not smile. Sometimes knowing the ground means knowing when it gets the thing. Quist hated the sentence, mostly because he understood it. A second collapse sounded. The eastern side of the basin sank. June turned toward the human team. Everyone out, ridge route. They moved immediately. Quist remained still for one more second. Then he turned his back on the spacecraft. They began crossing toward the northern ridge. The first 100 meters were easy. Then the route disappeared. It did not collapse beneath them. It collapsed ahead. One moment, the sand was flat. The next, a wide oval section folded downward with a dry roar. The lead human jumped backward. The ground dropped 5 meters into darkness. Water glimmered at the bottom. The safe ridge was now on the other side. June swore. Quist scanned. The cavity has expanded beneath our western route. East. Also compromised. Back. Quist turned. The basin behind them had become a network of sagging plates and narrow ridges. His spacecraft stood in the center, tilted like a structure on melting ice. Back is worse. June looked around. The team was trapped on an island of surface, roughly 40 meters across. Water moved beneath 3 sides. Quist's scanner filled with warnings. One human asked, "Can we cross the gap?" June studied the collapsed section. No, roof edge is paling. Quist zoomed in. She was right. A narrow layer of sand along the edge was sliding into the hole. What about south? June looked at Quist. He scanned. A narrow shelf continues toward the second ridge. Width, between 4 and 9 meters. Roof, 1 meter at best. June shook her head. Too thin. It is our only continuous route. It won't hold people walking upright. Quist looked at the mesh mats. Weight distribution. We do not walk upright. June met his eyes. The ground beneath them trembled. Barely. But Quist felt it. He looked at the scanner. Water was entering the cavity under their position. We are running out of alternatives. June nodded. Okay, everyone down. The humans moved instantly. Packs came off. Mesh panels and flexible mats were laid across the narrow shelf. June crawled first. Slowly. Her weight spread across forearms, knees, and the broad mesh beneath her. Quist followed. His suit automatically activated stabilization assistance. He disabled it. A warning appeared. Powered mobility recommended. Quist dismissed it. The shelf narrowed. Below, water rushed through the buried channel. Quist could hear it clearly now. The earth sounded hungry. He almost laughed at the thought. The ground was not hungry. It was not angry. It was not trying to kill him. That somehow made it worse. June stopped. Wide. Quist scanned. Void ahead has expanded. Direction. Toward us. How far? 3 meters. June looked at the surface. I don't see it. Quist pointed. Your surface indicators have not appeared yet. Then you lied. He stared at her. This is your environment, and that's your scanner. The decision lasted less than a second. Quist crawled forward. Move left 20 centimeters. June shifted. More. She followed. The rest of the team mirrored her. Quist watched the blue map projected inside his visor. Cavity roof. Sand thickness. Water. Load distribution. Everything his instruments could measure. Then the mat beneath his right hand shifted. Quist froze. June whispered, "What?" Nothing below changed. Something above did. He looked at her. She touched the surface beside the mat. Sands moving sideways. Quist magnified the slope. She was right. The entire upper layer was creeping toward the central collapse. His scanner had been looking down. June had been looking across. Back 10 centimeters, she said. They adjusted. A sheet of sand slid past them and poured into a hole that had not existed seconds earlier. Quist updated the route. New path, follow my depth calls. And my surface calls. Agreed. They moved. Quist identified thin sections before they reached them. June caught pressure ridges and sliding surfaces before Quist's subsurface map changed. Neither led for more than a few meters at a time. Right. Stop. Forward. Wait. Left. Too soft. Depth stable. Surface isn't. Changing route. They crossed 30 meters. Then a sound came from behind them. Metal groaning. Quist turned. His spacecraft had moved. The hull leaned at an impossible angle. Half of one side was below the sand. The forward landing leg hung in open air where the ground around it had disappeared. Quist stopped crawling. June saw him looking. Keep moving. The craft shifted again. A section of hull vanished. Quist's suit identified structural stress. The ship's automatic systems sent him a remote warning. Landing failure. Emergency launch recommended. The irony was so complete that Quist almost admired it. The ship asked permission to launch. Quist could give it. For one terrible moment, his hand moved toward the control. June said nothing. She did not tell him no. That made the decision harder. Quist stared at the emergency command. He imagined the engines firing, thrust striking the fractured basin, sand collapsing under the people still crawling toward safety. He closed the command. Launch denied. The spacecraft sank another meter. Quist turned away. Continue. They crawled. Behind them, the hull groaned again. Then came a deep, rushing sound. Quist looked back once. The ground beneath his spacecraft opened completely. Not violently. Not dramatically. The sand simply began flowing. The ship dropped nose first. Its rear section rose briefly into the air. Sunlight flashed across the hull. Then the entire craft slid downward. Sand poured around it. The tail disappeared. For several seconds, a shallow depression remained. Then that too collapsed. Quist stared at the place where his ship had been. Nothing remained except moving sand. June's voice was quiet. Quist. He looked forward. She held out one hand. Not to pull him, just to mark the direction. Ridge. Quist crawled. The final 10 meters were the worst. The shelf narrowed. One human crossed onto firm ground. Then another. June stayed near the rear. Quist's scanner warned of collapse, advancing under them. Faster, he said. June looked at the sand. No, the cavity is expanding. I know. We need speed. We need less pressure. Quist nearly argued, then remembered his first attempt to escape. More force. More collapse. He slowed. One by one, the humans reached firm ground. Only June and Quist remained. The mat beneath his knees sagged. Quist's scanner flashed red. June, I see it. No, you do not. The cavity roof directly beneath her had thinned to less than half a meter. Move toward me. She shifted. The surface cracked. Stop. June froze. Quist examined the map. Her safest route was not toward the ridge. It was diagonally across him. Your left. She moved her hand. More. The crack widened. Now forward. June crawled. Her boot passed over the spot she had occupied. It collapsed immediately. Sand rushed downward. June's body slid. Quist caught her wrist. His instinct triggered. Suit assistance came online automatically. His arm locked. The system prepared to pull. Quist saw the pressure estimate spike. No! He killed the assistants. June hung half over the collapsing edge. Quist flattened himself completely. He spread his legs, spread his free arm, distributed everything. June did the same. Neither pulled hard. They moved centimeters at a time. June found purchase. Quist shifted sideways. The sand beneath them hissed. Then June's elbow reached the last intact mat. A human on firm ground pushed another panel toward them. June caught it. She slid forward. Quist followed. His boots crossed the boundary. Two hands seized the back of his harness. He almost shouted at them not to pull. Then his chest reached solid ground. The humans dragged him the final half-meter. Behind them, the shelf collapsed. Quist rolled onto his back. The sky filled his visor. Blue. Empty. Beautiful. For a long time, nobody spoke. Quist listened to his own breathing. June lay beside him, one arm across her face. Finally, she said, "Your first day going well." Quist considered several responses. "Statistically, I have had better landings." June laughed once. Not at him. With him. Quist decided there was an important difference. By late afternoon, the tide had filled much of the underground channel. The collapse basin was larger now. Human authorities marked the entire area and closed the surrounding dunes. Quist stood on a stable ridge, wearing a temporary equipment pack provided by the survey team. Where his spacecraft had landed, there was only a broad depression. No metal, no lights, no elegant interstellar engineering. Just sand. June stood beside him. "I'm sorry about the ship." Quist looked at her. "You spent most of the morning preventing me from saving it." "Yes. And now you apologize." "Also yes. Humans remain inconsistent. We contain several opinions at once." Quist turned back toward the basin. "My people will send a recovery team." "Good. They will bring equipment significantly more advanced than yours." "Probably. They will map every cavity." "Hope so. They will stabilize the surface." June glanced at him. "Maybe." Quist sighed. "I knew you were going to say that." The wind returned. Thin streams of sand moved along the ridge. Quist watched them. Earlier, he would have called the landscape still. Now he noticed movement everywhere. Grains crossing one another. Tiny slopes forming and vanishing. Grass bending. Dry surfaces changing color as layers shifted. The planet had not changed. His attention had. "My official survey requires a physical surface sample," Quist said. June looked at him. "You're joking." "I lost the first probe." "I noticed. I cannot file an incomplete planetary contact record. Your ship got swallowed. That does not exempt me from documentation. June rubbed her forehead. Fine. She walked several meters along the ridge. Quist followed, then stopped. June looked back. What? Quist studied the ground. No visible cracks. No vents. No fresh slide. He checked the scanner. No cavity within 20 meters. He crouched, but did not touch the surface. First, he pressed one boot lightly against it. Stable. He shifted weight gradually. Still stable. Then he removed a small flat plate from the human equipment pack and set it across the sand. June raised an eyebrow. Look at you. Quist ignored her. He placed one hand on the plate. Distributed pressure. Stable. Only then did he extend his other hand beyond it. His gloved fingers touched earth. Warm grains slid beneath them. Quist waited. Nothing collapsed. No warning appeared. No dark cavity opened. The ground remained exactly where it was. He slowly closed his hand and lifted a small amount of sand. June watched. Got your sample? Yes. Quist studied the grains resting in his palm. Ordinary quartz. Shell fragments. Mineral dust. Nothing remarkable. His first scan had been correct about every grain. It simply had not told him what the grains were capable of doing together, or what might be missing beneath them. Quist sealed the sample container. June started back toward the vehicles. After several steps, she noticed he had not followed. You coming? Quist looked once more at the sand, then at the place where his ship had disappeared. June. Yeah. The human briefing contained a statement I originally considered unnecessary. Which one? Quist stood. When you do not know the ground, ask someone who does. June nodded. Good advice. It is incomplete. She turned. Quist brushed sand from his glove. You should add something. What? He looked down before taking his next step. Ask before you land. June smiled. This time Quist did too. Then he followed her carefully across the sand.